of the jury. Oh boy. Is it right quite there now, is it? What do you suppose the word percent means? Anybody remember from years gone way back, Grace?
Out of 100?
Right, you can get that by the word per. You know, if you do 5 laps per hour, 5 laps 4 out of every hour. Cent, like cents as in dollar, money, coin, century, centurion, whatever, basically means out of 100. And a handy dandy little way to remember that is this. I don't know if I did this with y'all. The percent sign looks like this. Well, with a little creativity, okay, if you just move this stuff around here, maybe switch this guy here, put this O over here, that O over there, you get that 100 thing there. Now the problem, and percents are no more than a way, they're more like a comparison because, for example, when I give you a quiz, you get one wrong, you get 90%. Did you actually do 100 problems? No, but you did what was an equal ratio to that. What actually happened was, out of the 10 problems on the quiz, you got 9 of them right. But to get your percent, we figured out what that equal fraction or equal ratio would be if there was 100. Well, 9 out of 10 would be the same as how many out of 100? To make an equal fraction, you multiply by 10, multiply the top by 10, and this 90 here is where we get the 90%. So we got 90 out of 100. Now, unfortunately, for all of us in the math world, not always is it this simple or this easy. Like, for example, if you have the fraction 1/3 and you tried, the first thing you always want to do is try to see if it easily goes into 100. And, well, unfortunately, 3 doesn't go into 100. Okay, so the best thing to do about this is this. Write this little helpful note down to yourself. You can always make something a percent by multiplying it by 100%. I'm going to give that a little minute to let it sink in because this is fascinating to me. I sometimes lose sleep about this. And so does Peter, I can tell, based on the way his hand is up. Sir, did I tell something wrong? Oh, yeah. Well, I'm not worried about the answer. Some of you know the answer. Like 5/16, you know what the answer is? What percent 5/16 is? Okay, so you just happen to know this one, because this one's a pretty standard one, yeah. And the reason that works is this, children. 100% is the same thing as the number 1. Why is that? Because 100% is 100 over 100, and 100 over 100 is 1. Okay, so that's the reason. Anytime you multiply anything by 1, you get the same thing, so you can do that all day long. So let's look at this multiplying this by 100% right here. If I take 1/3 and multiply it by 100%, I make it a fraction by putting it over 1 like we do with all things when we don't have fractions. And you end up with, when you multiply that out again, this is why you're in 7th grade because it gets a little tough. 1 times 100 is 100. 3 times 1 is 3. Okay, you have to do this division part of this to get what Peter already knew is, and most of you knew this was probably 33 1/3%, just because it's a common one. And yes, 1/3 does equal 33 1/3%. That is true. But like I asked Peter, okay, what about one that's not quite so obvious? I said, well, what is 5/16? not quite as obvious, but you can do it the same way, multiply it by 100%. So you actually end up with 500 divided by 16. Are you with me? Do you see where I got that? 5 times 100 is 500. 16 times 1 is 16. I need to actually do the division out to see what my percent is. How many times 16 go into 50?
4.
Yeah. 16 times, 3 times 16 is 48. How many times does 16 go into 20? Once. And then what's left you can make a fraction out of. 31 and 4/16, or 31 and 1/4%. Now, fortunately for you children, most of them work out nicely. Rarely do they give you one that's really tough or hard like that. You know, ones that you should know that 1/4 is what percent?
25.
Yeah, think in terms of money, quarter of a dollar, 25%. I don't know. 7/10 is what percent?
70.
Make it out of 100, it's 70%. All that sort of thing. Peter,
I thought you said it was 4 times 2.
did I do something wrong? What?
I thought you said it was
4 maybe.
yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I said. Oh, right here.
Yeah.
I said 4 and it was 3. Yeah. I got nothing on that one. So again, pick whatever way works is easiest. You only have to multiply by 100% if you don't know it already, or if it doesn't go evenly into 100. Like for example, 4/5. Again, I wouldn't multiply that by 100. I would just think 4/5 is what number over 100. Multiply 5 by 20. 4 times 20 is, so there's your percent. Okay, I would only use the multiplying by 100% if it's a really tough one that you just have no idea what it is. You good with that, Luz? Yeah?
Yeah.
Yep?
Yeah.
Perfect. Now, in addition to that, you also need to be able to change a percent to a fraction. And I know that's going to be hard. Changing a percent to a fraction. Let's say you've got 8%. How in the world can I change 8% into a fraction? Please think really, 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 really hard. Jacob.
Go 8 over 100 and then reduce.
Percent just means out of 100, so whatever this number is, it's 8 out of 100 of that. 8 out of 100. And then just reduce it. What number goes into both of those? Divide both by 4, you get 2 over 50. Oh, sorry, you reduce them again, you get 1 over 25. That's your fraction. Is that tough, hard, easy, exciting? Now, how about this? We have to do a little word problem here. What about this? 40, write this one down, percent of 40% of the 30 students rode the bus. % of the 30 students rode the bus. How many rode the bus? %, of the 30 rode the bus. Now, what I'd like you to do, here's where a little bit of thinking comes in here, and I'm sure some of you right now know what the answer is. Who knows what the answer is? Oh, well, there you go. Perfect. Here's what you should do. When you come up with a percent word problem, make a percent box. Just like when we do fractions, and percents are nothing more than kind of glorified fractions anyways. If you make a little box here, the box stands for what you're talking about, all of this right here. That box stands for 30 students. I am breaking those 30 students up into percents. What percent do I have? I got 40% of those students. What do? They ride the bus. Well, here's something that, and you probably won't need to do this or know this right off the bat, but if 40% ride the bus, what else can I deduce from that? If 40% of them ride the bus, I can make a couple little deductions there. Calvin? Right, 60% don't ride the bus. Do not ride bus. And that is a total of 100%. Okay, you either ride the bus or you don't ride the bus. There's no halfway there. Okay, my total I already know is 30, right? And what do I want to know? Do I want to know how many don't ride the bus or how many do ride the bus? So this is the one I'm looking for right here. This is my letter N. This 60%, they might ask you, but they did not ask in this part of the problem. So, you just need to look at this as being equal fractions. 40 over 100 equals some number over 30. Any idea how I'm going to do that? Seventh graders. How about this? First thing you always want to do, kids, is see if you can make the fraction easier to deal with. Can I reduce 40 over 100?
Yes.
What number goes into both of them? Let's go with 10. Let's go 10 just because. If I reduce them by 10, I end up with 4/10. And you could keep reducing it, but it doesn't really help you because what you're looking for is a number over here that you can multiply evenly to get a number over there. And what times 10 is 30? So whatever I did to the bottom, I do to the top. 4 times 3 is 12. So that's the number that goes there. That's a 12. And again, you're going to get used to it. I did one with 8th grade even today, just like that. A little tougher, mind you, but very close to that. Let me see if there's another one. Let's do one more. Yeah, this is one, a basketball one for you basketball people. Harold scored 30% of the team's 50 points. How many points did Harold score? How many puntas? How many points did H score? Alright, so see if this makes any heads nor tails sense to you. We are taking the points and splitting it up into percents. This is always going to be 100%. I know that 30% was what Harold scored, right? Which means, and again, you won't need this, but eventually we will, so we might as well get used to it. What would go here? We're splitting 100% into 30 and, Gary? 70%. And what is that 70%? Points that Harold didn't score. H did not score. So I split my 100% into two parts. 50 is the total number of points, and I wanna know how many points Harold scored or how many he didn't score. How many he did. So I don't need this part right now, but we need to understand that eventually we can use that part. So here's my fraction, this over this. And really, children, to me, it doesn't, you don't really even have to draw the extra fraction thing. You could just look, how do I go from 100 to 50? Just cut it in half. Divide by 2. Same thing here. To go from 30 to divide it by 2, you get 15. That's how many points Harold scored was 15. You don't even have to really, if it helps you to think it out in fraction form like this, equals what number over 50? And even same thing, reduce like we did, 3/10, 10 times 5, 3 times 5, you still get 15 in there. But you will find it much, much, much helpful if you kind of get used to, is somebody whistling at me? That's for sure. Okay, I think that will end today's exciting